Good morning, YouTube friends. Today is Sunday, the 14th of January, and the time is around 8:20 a.m. And where are we? This corner of the lakes we're at now, you have seen before. I have been at the lakes before, not all the way around. But parts of it is part of other walking tours. Today I thought I'd walk towards the opposite side of the lakes that we haven't done before. And on our way, we will take a couple of little detours to visit a special neighborhood. I'll tell you, it's actually historically an interesting neighborhood. And architecture-wise, I guess so too. I don't know much about architecture, so I won't be able to tell you much about that, but I'll link to it in the description down below. But yeah, more of that later. We'll get to it shortly. Today it's right on the verge of freezing, I would say. Around 0 degrees. It has gotten a wee bit milder. A week or two ago it was like 15 degrees, minus 15 degrees. Snowy and just downright cold. So cold I didn't even go outside to film for you guys because it was too much for me. As you can see on the lake here, the ice is starting to melt, even though it's, like I said, it's around 0 degrees. So, and this coming week it should actually, at least in the nighttime, start to freeze again. So we'll see. But it is a wee bit milder. I enjoy that. I mean, I don't mind the cold, but I mean, minus 15, even for me, that's too much. Yeah. And calendar-wise, I guess right now in the middle of January, the 14th, as I said, I guess calendar-wise we're in the middle of winter. But in Denmark, even March can sometimes be really cold too. It's weird because if you're lucky, look at this, guys. I have to be really careful when I walk today because this ice is really hard to see, and I don't want to twist my ankles. No, but as I was saying, March can sometimes, if you're lucky, have a few days that feels like spring, or at least the coming spring. But mostly it's still pretty cold. So I guess for me this time of year is the toughest. The cold, I mean, if it's around 0 degrees, that's fine with me, but it's more the darkness. As you can see now, it's only starting to get light now, and it's like 8:30 in the morning. That is actually a bit of an improvement because it's almost a month ago that it was the darkest day, so the days are getting longer. Let me just take a picture of my Instagram here of the swans. Will they let me get closer, or will they? They can be really unpleasant and aggressive sometimes, these swans. And as per usual, guys, sorry about the sniffing, but it is really cold. Now, about I don't know, month ago or something, I did a few walking tours in places that were really crowded, the Christmas market and the Tivoli trip and stuff like that. And as I've noticed, or as I mentioned in those videos, close crowds of people is not my thing. So walking like I'm doing now in the morning, where not many people are out, is more for me. This is where I relax and kind of charge my batteries for a coming week. In crowds of people, my batteries are not charged but drained instead, so yeah. Okay, so the detour we are taking is coming up shortly. It's a neighborhood in Copenhagen that's called Kartoffelrækkerne. I guess roughly translated into English, it would mean something like a potato rows. And now why is that? Well, I do know some of the story, perhaps not in great detail, but some of it. The area around the lakes where we are now, I mentioned this in an earlier trip, used to be countryside and not the city as it is now. It used to be outside the city ramparts, the city fortifications. So back then, I'm not even sure it was allowed back then to build houses out here, but there were a lot of potato fields, or potato rows, if you will, because it was outside the city walls. At some point, those old-fashioned fortifications came down because they made no sense anymore. And they started to build out here. Now, in the center of Copenhagen was where back then all the working class people lived. And to put it mildly, I'm sure it was dreadful. I mean, rubbish on the streets and maybe even sewage on the streets. So what they did to spread it out a bit was they built this neighborhood that I'm starting to walk in now. We're against the light. That's not good, but the next street over, I'll walk the other direction so you can see it better. No, so they built these buildings here. Must have been in the 1870s, I reckon, ish. For working class people to live in, because it would again then be outside of the city, or at least an extension of. And it was the plan was to minimize all the pollution and all the nastiness inside the small streets of the city where the working class people were living back then. So now we call this a neighborhood Kartoffelrækkerne, the potato rows. I guess because there used to be potato rows, potato fields out here. But now, this is considered a part of the city center now, because obviously the city has grown very much since back then. I don't know the details, but the buildings, at least I think, if you buy a home here, first of all you need a lot of money because they are very modern, not modern, it's cool, if you're not a young hipster but like an adult hipster, if you will, and you have a bit of money, it's pretty cool to live here, but you do need a bit of money. And there's strict rules about what you can do to the building. Because they're of historic value, you can't just do whatever you want. with the building, inside and out. There are certain rules you have to follow. I don't know all the rules, but as you mean, these guys here are doing something, but I'm sure you're allowed to, maintain and stuff like that, but I'm not sure you're allowed to make some massive changes to the buildings. I have to be careful, there's ice here. So if I stop talking mid-sentence, it's because I have to concentrate walking. Yeah, I know that sounds silly, but I am a very clumsy man. Yeah. Actually, I thought it wasn't legal to change the color. I thought you had to keep the brick color or whatever it's called, but apparently you are allowed to change the color. Anyways, like I said, I don't know all the details. I just know that there are a lot of strict rules about what you can and cannot do. Yeah, and they're right by the lakes, also this neighborhood, and on the opposite direction of the lakes is a touristy inner city of Copenhagen. So the location of this neighborhood nowadays is really cool too. So yeah, people with money live here, not regular dudes like me. There must be some kind of protection to prevent people from climbing into the backyard, I guess. Don't think I've ever seen that before. And as you can see here, maybe see here, guys, that it stretches down a while on the street here. But we'll take a couple more streets back and forth, so you can get the feel. It is pretty nice. I'm actually not sure if there are one or two family. There's only one name on that mailbox, so maybe it's an entire house. I was a little bit in doubt if it was like 2 apartments or something like that, or if it's an entire house. But it looks like it's an entire house. I do get though that the parking situation right here is perhaps not overly desirable, but I guess nothing is perfect, eh? And also trying to be respectful. If I see people inside the windows, I'm not gonna film there. Respect people's privacy. I would not be a fan of people filming inside my window, so I try not to do the same when I'm out walking. I sometimes speak about cemeteries when I'm out walking. That's something that draws me to them. In this direction over here, there's also quite a, I wouldn't say famous cemetery, but a historical one that I haven't visited yet. But like I have mentioned, I think, if I remember correctly, in my earlier videos, that I would like to the historical important cemeteries that I know in Copenhagen. I do want to pay them respect. I do want to visit them properly, but it takes. I need to take some time researching, and yeah, to be quite honest, I haven't had the time yet with my quote-unquote real job and other, life stuff. And preferably, I would like to do it in, spring or autumn, because I think the colors are more interesting than they are now. But anyways, I'll see if I can make an effort to make it happen this coming season. So stay tuned, everybody. Back at the lakes. So the neighborhood on the other side of the lakes, obviously also started growing after these that we're visiting now. I mean, it was countryside, like I've mentioned before back then. And they started building even more smaller apartment buildings and stuff like that for workers as well, which meant that many of the worker families living in the city center disappeared. And slowly over the years, the city got rejuvenated, or what you want to call it, gentrified, or whatever you want to call it. So if you want to live in the historical or dead center of Copenhagen, yeah, you also need to pay for it. But I mean, Copenhagen in general, even if you go to the suburbs, is extremely expensive to live in. If you want to live in a nice place, or even have a house because you have a family, yeah, good luck. You need to make a lot of money, or you have to move away from Copenhagen. I'm very lucky that I've been a member of. I don't own my own home. I wish I did, but I can't afford that. So, because I've been a member of what's the English word here? It's like a organization that rents out homes for people who don't have a lot of money. But you have to be a member of an organization like that for many, many, many years to move up the waiting list. And luckily I've been living here long enough that I got an apartment. The location is pretty cool, pretty good. It's not the best apartment in the world. It's not very well insulated, and it's, but it's all right. And it's not still Copenhagen prices, but it's not extremely expensive. So I've been lucky that way. I mean, investment wise, it's not that good to rent, but if you want to live in Copenhagen, like I said, you need to have money to be able to buy stuff. And like I also said, I'm just some normal dude. Not poor, not rich, just some guy. But I can't afford to buy anything in Copenhagen. That's too expensive for me. I think there might be one more street or something. So I'm guessing you're getting the point by now and how this neighborhood looks. Oh, there's like an old-fashioned ad for a carpenter's company, probably the company who's renovating the building. Well, if they are built in the mid-ish 1800s, I wonder if there's even decent plumbing or indoor toilets back then. There probably wasn't. I'm sure there is now, but yeah, I'm also relatively sure that there wasn't back then, because they were working class homes, which is odd too. Maybe there were 2 family homes, maybe even 3 back then. I don't know. I'll see if I can find some info, more detailed info on the internet, and if I can, I'll post a link in the description. Yeah. Oh, that's actually maybe 2 or 3 streets more. Yeah, well, let's take a couple more. And then maybe when we get to the intersection, after a couple more streets, we can continue a bit along the lakes, and we'll call it a day in about, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something. What about you guys? Are you freezing your butts off like I am, or do you live in a warm place? Let me know in the comments so I can fantasize about being in a place where it's not cold. That would be nice. Yeah. Here on the corner, there's a pretty nice bakery. Let's see if we can get a shot. They are a little bit old school, but they're also pioneers. For many years, the Danes had kind of forgotten craftsmanship behind baked goods. But maybe, I don't know, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, a couple of bakeries, this one is one of them, kind of rediscovered, sourdough and, using butter instead of margarine in Danish, and, like craftsmanship, bakery stuff, bread. And there are a couple of places that pioneered it, brought it back. This was one of them. But they're still, because they were among the pioneers. I think the bread they make is lovely, but a bit old school. There are a lot of new modern stuff out there right now, where the quality is at least as good as theirs, maybe even better some places, and more modern. So I love both. I love good bread. It's one of my greatest, I was about to say weakness. That's because I love eating too much. But good bread, I don't mean supermarket or factory bread, but good bread. Oh man, I could easily just live from that. Butter and different cheeses and stuff like that, yes. So I'm happy Copenhagen is a great city if you're into bread. Also, if you're into craft beer, if you're a beer nerd, Copenhagen is an awesome city as well. And if you, like me, are into food, I mean both the fancy stuff but also just, good food, again, Copenhagen is wonderful. It's not a cheap city by any means. It is somewhat expensive, but food, beer, bread and stuff like that, it's an awesome city to live in. So when I save up money, it's not for clothes, cars, stuff like that. It's for food and sometimes a bit of travel. Alright, I think let's just, here at the intersection, cross back over to the lakes. Take maybe 5 more minutes or something along the lakes, and we'll call that a day. I mean, you get the point with these houses now. As you can see on the sidewalk, it's still a bit, I need to be careful. Because I am somewhat of a klutz. I'm not a very elegant man. I always, trip over stuff and drop things I have in my hands and stuff like that. Alright, the sun is up. Can you even see that on the camera? Let me see if I can get a picture of this on my... Do my phone camera catch this? I don't know. Alright. We gave it a try. Come on, change the lights. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I have to be careful down the stairs now because, like I said, it's still icy. Let me take a picture of the ice here for my Instagram. sweep so you guys can see it too. Alrighty, let's move on. Yeah, I'm thinking up ahead, maybe 3-4 minutes walk from here, you can see a little bridge. We've been there too before. I think we're gonna walk towards that and end our little Sunday morning outing there. I remember a few videos ago, before it got this cold, when I did on one of my other walks by the lakes, just on the different sides further down. You guys were laughing about all the joggers. There's still been by the lake a few this morning, but yeah, I guess the cold also deters some of them. But I'm sure if you wait an hour or something and take a walk here by the lakes, there'll be more than there are now. So but it is a very favored spot by joggers, the lakes. Yeah, I understand, there's something about water that's calming. Ah, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was wondering why the flags on the bridge. I don't know if you can see it from here. I'll point my camera towards it when we get closer. These are like official Danish flags, Østerbro it's called. And I was wondering why. Is it a holiday today? But then I remembered. Today, actually, not for me, I don't really care about that stuff, but for many people today is a very important day. I guess I forgot because it's not important to me, but for many people, for many Danish people it is. I know they anticipate many hundreds of thousands extra visitors to Copenhagen today, because some of you might know, but our queen in Denmark is, well, she's getting up there in age. She may be 80 something. Don't think she's entirely well anymore. So today is the day where she passes on her reign to the crown prince, who then later today will become king. So for the first time since 1972, we'll have a king and not a queen. And I'm not into all that royal stuff. I guess that's why I've completely forgotten. But if I was about to say, if some of you guys are into it, look it up, but this video will not be published until like 3 or 4 weeks after this has happened, so too bad. Yeah. Yeah, but I read somewhere that all the hotels, all buses, trains and stuff like that are completely fully booked. And it's gonna be late afternoon and evening, so my camera would not function well in the darkness. And if hundreds of thousands of people have gathered, the chances that I would get even a few decent shots would be minimal. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna venture out tonight. Not my thing. But of course, best of luck to our new coming king. we're close enough now. You can see the flags. I'll get a shot of them when we get closer. Maybe that'll be our fade out shot. The story about the Danish flag, Dannebro as it's called. Oh, and I didn't prepare this, so I can't remember the year, but maybe around 1,000 years ago there was a king. Oh man, Valdemar, I think his name was. I don't remember which of them. I should have prepared this, but I didn't. Well, the story is that they were like, fighting somewhere in what would probably be Estonia or something now. Poland or Estonia, I think over there, in that direction. And after a bloody battle, a white banner fell from the skies. And when it landed on the ground, it got, all the blood on the ground got soaked up by it. Because it was maybe in the beginning of Christianity. The only part of the flag who didn't get covered in blood was the white cross in the middle. What a coincidence, huh? But that's at least the legend about the Danish flag, Dannebro. Oh, hang on. I'll take a picture of this for my Instagram as well. And let's see if we can finish off on the flags over here. But as per usual, guys, I'm happy for all of you who hung out. Especially if you hung out all the way through. That's always good. And congratulations to our new king. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Have a wonderful Sunday. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.